My wife told me she needed space and asked me to stay at my brother's place for a few days. On day 3, her work friend pulled into our driveway with flowers and wine, thinking she was home alone. He wasn't expecting me to be standing at the window watching. I'll be honest, I'm still not sure what I'm supposed to feel. Angry? Numb? Betrayed? It's been 3 days since she asked me to leave, and I keep playing those words over and over in my head. I just need space. Please don't make this harder. We've been married 5 years. Dated for 2 before that. I know every detail of her face, the way she bites the inside of her cheek when she's nervous, the weird little dance she does when she finds a good deal at the grocery store. I know the scar on her left ankle and how she can never finish a cup of coffee. And still, I didn't see this coming. I guess that's what makes it worse. There wasn't some big fight. No cheating confession or screaming match. Just distance. Just silence. And then that conversation last Friday night. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us was really watching. She muted the volume, looked straight ahead, and said it like she was reading off a script. I need some space. Just a little time to clear my head. I think it would be good for both of us if you stayed at Josh's for a few days. I stared at her, waiting for a smile. A laugh. Just kidding. But it didn't come. I asked, are we okay? She didn't answer right away. Then, I don't know. That was it. That was the moment I felt the ground shift. Josh didn't ask too many questions when I showed up with a duffel bag. He just stepped aside, let me in, and offered me a beer. We watched a game neither of us cared about. Made small talk. I think he knew better than to dig. My brother's been through divorce, so he's good at sensing when someone's holding back an emotional landslide. But I couldn't sleep. Night when I just lay there on his lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the hum of the refrigerator in his open-plan kitchen. Night 2, I kept checking my phone. She hadn't messaged me since that one weirdly formal text, hope you slept okay. I'm going to be focusing on work this weekend. Don't worry about me. Like she was writing to a colleague, not her husband. And then there was Eli. God, even typing that name makes my stomach twist. He was just a work friend at first. At least that's how she described him. Casual mentions. Eli made a joke today during the staff meeting, cracked everyone up. Or Eli said this place has the best pho in town, maybe we should try it. I didn't say much. I didn't want to seem insecure or paranoid. But once you start paying attention, it's hard to stop. The late-night texts. The way she smiled at her phone. The time she said she was staying late for inventory but didn't get home until almost midnight and smelled like whiskey and some cologne that definitely wasn't mine. Still, I said nothing. Because silence is what nice guys do when they're afraid to look stupid. On the 3rd day, I cracked. I told myself I just wanted to pick up a few things. My good jacket. A book I was halfway through. I told Josh I'd be back in an hour. I parked a block away from the house and walked the rest. It felt ridiculous and dramatic, but something in my gut told me not to pull into the driveway. I slipped through the side gate, we never changed the garage code, and let myself in through the laundry room. I didn't expect anything. Truly. I thought maybe she'd be at work. I thought maybe I'd feel foolish for being so paranoid. But I wasn't there 5 minutes before it happened. A car I didn't recognize, a sleek, dark Audi, pulled into the driveway. I peeked through the blinds, heart hammering. He stepped out. Late 30s, tall, button-down shirt, holding a bottle of wine and white lilies. I didn't have to guess. He walked up to the front door like he'd done it before. Like he was expected. He rang the bell once. Then twice. Then looked down at his phone. Probably texting her. Probably confused why she wasn't answering. And then he looked up. Right into the living room window. Right at me. And I was just standing there, expressionless, unblinking, watching him the way you watch someone who just walked across your grave. He froze. I opened the door. And said, she's not alone. The way this man backed off my porch, you'd think I had a weapon in my hand. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't threaten. Didn't even move. I just stood in the doorway with the kind of stillness that comes from a soul 2 inches away from cracking. He blinked at me, then glanced at the wine bottle like he suddenly realized how stupid he looked. The flowers started to dip in his arm, a few petals brushing his sleeve. I noticed every detail, the polished leather shoes, the custom-fit slacks, the watch that probably cost more than my truck. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know you were home. I tilted my head. I don't think you knew I existed. He actually stammered, and took another step backward. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I should go. I nodded once. That'd be a good idea. He turned without another word and got back into the Audi. I watched him fumble with the keys before finally starting the engine. He didn't drive off right away. Just sat there in the car, probably texting her. Probably trying to figure out how he walked into the wrong scene of the story. Meanwhile, I closed the door, locked it, and stood in my own living room like a stranger. I walked around the house, noticed things I hadn't before. The couch blanket I always used was folded in the linen closet. My favorite mug, the blue one she used to tease me about, wasn't in its usual spot. Gone from the kitchen entirely. A new candle sat on the coffee table. One of those expensive, woodsy kinds you'd find in a boutique hotel. Definitely not her style. There were 2 wine glasses in the sink. One with lipstick, one without. Our bedroom had been cleaned, too perfectly. The comforter tucked in military tight. No clutter, no pajamas at the foot of the bed. Her vanity drawers cracked open just enough to reveal everything inside was rearranged. She wasn't expecting me back. Not now. Not this soon. And somehow, knowing that hurt more than seeing the guy with the flowers. I sat on the edge of the bed and texted her. "Me, you have a visitor. Might want to tell him the space is occupied." No reply. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. Finally, her typing bubble popped up. Then disappeared. Then reappeared. Then finally, the message came through. Her. "I can explain. Please don't make this worse than it is." Worse than it is? I stared at that message like it was in another language. My chest felt hollow, like she had scooped out everything warm and left me running on fumes. Josh called right around then. I hadn't told him anything yet. I just said I was staying longer, that I needed to handle something. He said sure, no rush, then added, "You good, man?" I said I was. I wasn't. At around 8:30, she finally came home. I heard the keys in the door, the cautious way she stepped in like she wasn't sure what version of me was waiting. She looked different. Nervous, yes, but also defensive, like she was walking into a courtroom instead of her own home. "I got your text," she said quietly. I stayed seated at the dining table. I'd been sitting there for over an hour. The wine glasses were still in the sink. The Audi guy had finally driven off. I'd made a decision during that time. Not about her. Not yet. About me. I needed to hear it. I needed to see if she'd tell the truth. "Tell me who he is." She closed her eyes, took a breath, then opened them again, meeting mine. "He's someone I work with, Eli. But it's not what you think." "What do I think?" She hesitated, then sat down across from me, like that would level the playing field. "We've had lunch a few times. I confided in him, about us, how things felt off, how I felt trapped, alone. I didn't say anything, just watched her face. I had loved this face. I had kissed it in the rain, held it when her mother died, laughed with it under blankets, and now it looked foreign. "Nothing's happened," she said. "He brought wine and lilies," I said flatly. "He thought I was alone." That hurt more than she knew. She kept talking, saying all the things people say when they're caught on the edge of something they can't explain away. I let her talk, but all I could hear was silence. The kind that sinks into your bones and won't leave. She asked if I'd come back to Josh's, just for another night. She needed time to sort out her thoughts. I stood up and said, "You already did. That's why he brought wine." Then I walked out. This time I wasn't coming back to pick up a jacket. I didn't go straight back to Josh's. I drove. Nowhere in particular. Through side streets I didn't recognize. Down long stretches of quiet road with just the headlights cutting through the dark. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't answer my phone. I just kept driving, gripping the wheel tighter than necessary, thinking if I stopped moving, it might all catch up and bury me. I ended up at the old overlook where we used to go before we were married. It was the kind of spot people put on postcards. Trees that stretched into forever, a view of the valley that made everything look small and simple. I sat on the hood of my truck and tried to picture her face back when she loved me. Not liked, not tolerated, loved. Back when she used to slip her fingers into mine just because. When she used to rest her head on my shoulder during long drives. When she used to say things like, "Home isn't a place. It's you." Now I was a guest in my own life, holding a suitcase like some side character who missed his cue. Josh didn't ask questions when I got back around 11. Just handed me a beer, motioned toward the couch, and sat beside me in silence. That's one thing I'll always be grateful for. He never pressed. Never tried to fill the space with advice or cliches. He just sat there, two brothers watching a muted TV while everything fell apart. The next morning, I woke up to a text. Can we talk later today? I think we both need clarity. Clarity. That's what she called it. I didn't answer right away. I showered. Took a walk. Thought about the last 5 years like it was a movie I'd watched and missed the ending to. Finally, around noon, I texted back. Me, sure. Come by Josh's. I'm not stepping into that house again. She arrived at 2:07 p.m. looking more put together than I expected. Jeans. Neutral sweater. Hair back. Calm. Too calm. Like someone heading into a negotiation, not a confession. Josh gave us space. Went to the hardware store or pretended to. Either way, he vanished. She sat across from me at the kitchen table. The same one we used to eat pancakes at on slow Sunday mornings when she still laughed with her whole body. I've been thinking a lot, she began. I nodded. Let her keep going. I meant it when I said nothing happened. With Eli. I mean, emotionally, yeah, there was something. He listened. He was there. But it never crossed a line. That last part landed like a rock through glass. Never crossed a line? I echoed. So where's the line, exactly? The wine? The emotional intimacy? The lies? Or when you asked your husband to leave so you could clear your head? She looked down. Picked at her nail. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Things between us have felt off for a long time. You've been so distant. So focused on your work, your routine, your comfort. I felt invisible. That word stung. Invisible. It's wild how two people can share a bed, a life, a future, and still manage to disappear from each other. And your solution was to make me leave? To bring someone else into the one place that was supposed to be ours? I didn't bring him into anything, she said. He just showed up. With lilies and wine. She flinched. She started crying then. Not loud sobs. Just silent tears that slipped down her face and soaked into her sleeve. The kind of crying that wasn't asking for forgiveness, just release. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't handle it right. I got lost. I panicked. I didn't know how to ask you to see me again. I wanted to yell. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to ask 100 questions I knew she couldn't answer. But I didn't. I just asked one. Is there still something left to save? She hesitated. Too long. Then, I don't know. That was it. That's when the light finally flickered out. You know how people say they hit rock bottom? I didn't hit anything. It was quieter than that. More hollow. I stood, grabbed my jacket, and said, then I'm not waiting around while you decide. She left without a fight. No promises. No begging. Just one last look over her shoulder before the door clicked shut. That night, I packed up my stuff at Josh's and booked a short-term rental across town. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere I could think without her perfume in the sheets or memories in the walls. I didn't tell her. I didn't have to. Because something was already unraveling. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't the one pulling the thread. It took her 4 days to reach out again. Not a call. Not even a text. Just an email. Subject line, please read. She said she wanted to be honest now. That she'd been reflecting, processing, thinking about us. It started like an apology, but her words bent in strange directions. A paragraph about how lost she'd felt, how Eli had been a comfort. Then came the line that made me stop reading. Eli and I agreed to take some space as well. He understands this is complicated. As well. Like she and I were just two simultaneous projects she'd temporarily shelved. I closed the laptop and stared at the cheap art on the rental's wall. A framed photo of a canoe on a lake. Serene. Still. False. She didn't get it. This wasn't about a complication. It was about disrespect. Displacement. Deception. Josh came over that night with burgers and a six-pack. He didn't pry. Just handed me food and turned on the game. After a few bites, I asked, did you know before Megan told you? He nodded. Didn't look away from the screen. Yeah. You always know. You just lie to yourself longer than you should. And what did you do when she finally told you? He took a sip of beer. Started the countdown. To what? To becoming someone new. That phrase stuck with me. I thought about all the things I'd postponed for her. The out-of-state job I passed up because she didn't want to move. The guitar gathering dust. The friends I stopped calling because she found them too immature. When had I last made a decision purely for me? That weekend, I left my phone on silent and drove north into the hills. Just me, a backpack, and the trail. I didn't have a plan. Every fork in the path, I took the harder route. I walked until my calves burned and my thoughts quieted. There's a strange freedom in exhausting yourself. Your body aches too much to pretend anymore. When I made it back to the car, sweat-soaked and sore, I felt lighter. Not healed. Not over it. But no longer drowning. Monday morning, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. It was Eli. His voice was low, cautious. "Hey, this is Eli. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know the full story. I didn't mean to get in the middle of your marriage. I hope things work out. For both of you." He sounded rehearsed. Like a guy trying to mop up a mess without getting dirty. Against my better judgment, I reopened her email. Scrolled to the bottom and there it was. I know I've blurred lines. At first, it was just messages, then drinks, then more. But I swear, nothing physical happened until after you left for Josh's. Until after I left? So something did happen. And now she was rearranging the story to fit her conscience. That night, I told Josh everything. Every detail. From the wine in the sink to Eli's voicemail. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "You can't heal in the place you got sick." The next morning, I called a realtor. Told them I was ready to sell the house. Our house. Because even if she begged, even if she cried, even if she swore it was a mistake, I knew what I'd seen in her eyes that day. Hesitation. Not heartbreak. Not desperation. Just calculation. And I wasn't going to wait around to be chosen like a backup plan. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't end in the moment it happens. It echoes. It follows you into grocery store aisles, into dreams, into moments of silence where your breath should have been enough. 3 days after I told the realtor to list the house, she showed up. I hadn't told her I was selling it. I didn't think I needed to. My name was on the mortgage, the deed, the documents she'd never cared to sign because paperwork stresses me out. A part of me wondered if she ever planned on staying long-term. Another part didn't care anymore. She must have driven by and seen the for sale sign. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. "Why are you selling our house? Can we please talk? I'm coming over." And she did. I opened the door to her standing on the porch, hair pulled back, face pale. No makeup. Just raw skin and red eyes like she hadn't slept. "You can't sell the house." Her voice cracked on can't like it was the only word she truly believed in. "I already did," I said. She looked like she'd been slapped. "You didn't even talk to me. You didn't talk to me when you asked me to leave. You didn't talk to me when Eli showed up with lilies and wine. You didn't talk to me when you crossed whatever line you decided was safe to blur." She winced. "I said I was sorry." "No. You said you were lost. That's different." She stepped inside like she didn't need permission, like the walls would still remember her footsteps. She stood in the middle of the rental's tiny kitchen like she couldn't figure out how we'd gotten there. "I miss you." I leaned against the counter. "Do you miss me or the version of me that let this slide?" That question hit her hard. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then tried again. "I made a mistake. You made a series of choices." She sat down at the table. Started crying openly this time. Not the quiet, composed tears from before. These were raw. Messy. "I didn't plan any of this. I didn't mean to ruin us. I felt invisible. Like a shadow in our own home." Eli listened. "I know I shouldn't have let it go that far, but I was hurting too." I sat across from her and let her speak. For the first time, I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. Because it wasn't for me anymore. Her apology, her pain, her confession, they weren't mine to carry. When she finished, she looked up at me like she wanted a verdict. "Do you still love me?" It was a question I had once feared. One I would have sold my soul to answer with a yes. But now? I don't know who you are anymore. And more importantly, I don't like who I became with you. She stayed for a while after that. Tried to rehash memories, jokes, photos from her phone. As if reminding me of who we were could undo what we'd become. But I wasn't there for the slideshow. I was already gone. 2 days later, she emailed me again. This time it was different. Short, clear, heavy. "I won't fight the sale. I understand. I just wish you'd waited. I didn't realize I'd already lost you." I didn't reply. What could I say that hadn't already bled out between us? Instead, I went back to the trail. The one I hiked the weekend everything cracked open. This time I brought a notebook. Sat at the top of the ridge and wrote down everything I wanted in my next chapter. Not a person. Not a relationship. Just me. What I liked. What I needed. What I would no longer apologize for. The house sold fast. Market was hot. I left her a voicemail the day it closed. Not for closure. Just for truth. "The keys are at the lawyer's office. Take what's yours. Leave what isn't. I wish you peace. but not another chance. Then I blocked her number. That was 3 weeks ago. And every morning since, I've woken up and felt a little less like the man who waited for someone else to decide if he was enough, and more like the man who finally decided he always was. I thought that would be the end of it. The house sold. My number changed. The boxes from that life were stored in my brother's garage for now. I was sleeping in a small apartment above a hardware store. A temporary place with creaky floors, bad insulation, and a view of the alley. But it was mine. No reminders. No ghosts. Just the quiet buzz of a new beginning. But she wasn't done. Not yet. It started with a letter. A real paper envelope slid under my door one rainy morning. No return address, just my name in her handwriting. Like it was still supposed to mean something. Inside was a single page. No pleading this time. No breakdowns. Just a list. Of the mug I always needed clean first thing in the morning. Of the way I tucked the blanket under her feet without being asked. Of the time I drove 3 hours after my shift to bring her cold medicine and her favorite soup. Of the playlist I made for her when she got promoted. Of the time I fixed her mom's broken jewelry box even though I knew she'd never use it. It ended with, I didn't forget, I just didn't show it. I'm sorry. And below that, if you ever want to talk, no pressure, no expectation, just if. I stared at it for a long time. Not angry, not tempted, just tired. She didn't get it. The problem wasn't that she forgot who I was. It's that she stopped being someone who deserved it. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because the silence between us had already said what words couldn't. It had weight now, not avoidance but clarity. Some things don't need to be shouted to be understood. 2 weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that she moved into a smaller apartment on the edge of town. Said she was figuring herself out. Good. I hope she does. But that version of me, the one who would have waited, fixed, forgiven again and again, he's gone. He left the night I watched another man walk up our porch with wine and lilies. I took a trip not long after, packed up the truck and headed west. No destination, just a stretch of highway and time. Somewhere in Arizona, I stopped at a roadside diner, middle of nowhere, dusty booth, great coffee. There was this couple in the corner, laughing too loud, clearly still in that early stage where you're fascinated by every little thing about each other. And I didn't feel bitter. I didn't feel envious. I just felt ready, not for love, for life, for peace, for the version of me I lost somewhere in the routine, in the compromise, in the waiting room of someone else's indecision. One morning, months later, I ran into her. It was at a bookstore of all places. I was thumbing through a travel memoir when I looked up, and there she was, 10 feet away, standing in front of a display of scented candles. She saw me, froze, then gave a small, sad smile. I nodded, that's all, and walked away, not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say. Some people don't need closure. They just need distance. So now I live quieter. Smaller place. Fewer things. Better sleep. I started picking up the guitar again. Reconnecting with friends. Planning a trip to Oregon. Not for work this time. Just because I want to see the coast. I even bought a new mug. Blue. Ceramic. Handmade. No memories. Just mornings. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough.